Salutations, respected viewers. This is George from Ireland, continuing my series on English law. I called this bit of it the nuts and bolts of English law, or indeed it could be common law, because much of what I say would be true of other Commonwealth countries. I was looking particularly at the process of becoming a barrister. There are about 15,000 barristers in England and Wales. Most of them are self-employed. A few of them work in-house. So they work for a company, a bank, even for the government legal service, and are salaried. The majority work for themselves. So I talked about having passed the bar professional training course. Someone is a barrister, he or she's been called to the bar. And these people then seek to get pupillage. They're only allowed to apply for 12 a year. And about 4,000 people apply for something like 300 pupillages. Well, that's the real bottleneck, so a barrister chum told me. So they're assisting someone who's an established barrister who's been, is it of at least 5 years call, I think, but usually rather more. So the qualified barrister is called a pupil master, and he or she has the pupil. So the word master is used even if it's in relation to a woman. So usually doing 2 sixes, that's in 2 periods of 6 months each. 6 months with this barrister, 6 months with the other one. And at the end, the pupil master signing a certificate of competence. This is invariably signed because if the pupil master is not satisfied and he refuses to sign such a certificate of competence, then the pupil has a very grave headache indeed. But I've never heard of that happening because these things are so extraordinarily difficult to get. They winnow out anyone who might be a weak candidate that you will be the right person, your face will fit if you get it, because there's so many interviews and all the rest of it. Now, occasionally people do 3 months, 3 months, plus 3 months, plus another 3 months to make it up to the full 12. So they are paid pupillages, at least £20,000, at most £60,000. But to get the one for 60 grand, you would have to be out of this world in terms of brains, industry, and whatever, all-round talent. Anyway, so a pupil should apply, well, a would-be pupil, apply to a chambers that specialises in his or her preferred area. You remember the nickname for a chambers is a set. So if you want to do family law, apply to a family set. If you wish to do commercial law, commercial set, and so forth. So a lawyer, well, a barrister has his or her speciality. Let's say it's admiralty. This person would be allowed to take a case that was something to do with contract or whatever. But even if that's not really their area, it'd be unwise. They often turn it down if they don't feel capable of doing it well. So pupillages are highly oversubscribed, as I alluded to, and a great many very able candidates are binned. So there are some extraordinarily demanding interviews. It's a very grueling process. So having completed the 2 sixes successfully, as in 2 periods of 6 months each, a barrister applies for a tenancy, which is a permanent place in chambers. And so long as you don't do anything disgraceful, you got that for life. So the chambers operate in different ways. Some of them pay a flat fee, as in £20,000 a year, to be a member of our chambers. Now for your barristers making £3 million a year, that's peanuts. For those who are only making £20,000 a year, well, that's everything. I've heard it said that some barristers make a loss. Other chambers do a system where you give a percentage of your earnings, blah, blah, blah. So the clerks set the fees. The clerks are the secretaries of the chambers. Now, they'll set it high, but not too high. They want to price you out of the market because it's in their interest you should make as much money as possible since they get a share of your earnings. So you don't deal directly with money. What are the nice things about it? As a barrister friend said to me, no, I'm not a barrister. It's my métier manqué. I always kick myself that I didn't try for it. But it's the unwisest investment you can possibly make in a sense, because if you start off doing, say, the graduate diploma in law with a view to being a barrister, your chance of becoming a barrister is something like 1 in 7. It's just astonishingly low. So I've heard of people who've been called to the bar, all that, even successfully completed pupillage, couldn't get a tenancy, become solicitors, or even had tenancy, struggling in practice, not making ends meet. These briefless barristers, they become solicitors or civil servants or bankers or go into investment or something else. And some people want to do it for the intellectual distinction of doing it. I can't remember who said this. Said, oh, it should be part of a liberal education of any gentleman. If he's not got the least intention of practicing, he should be called to the bar. So there were a lot of non-practicing barristers. Alan Clark MP, the list goes on and on. Charles Haughey, Irish Taoiseach. So tenancy is the real stumbling block. It's incredibly tricky to get that. There are 3 times as many candidates for tenancy as there are tenancies available. And bear in mind, if you got this far, successfully completed pupillage, you're a very accomplished person. That's a major achievement itself. You're very brainy, you've been through a lot of incredibly tough exams, and you've spent a staggering sum of money, and you're not guaranteed to make an OB. And even if you do make a tenancy, you might be living in penury. So anyone without a first-class degree can more or less forget it. As well as a first-class degree, ideally in law, also an outstanding result in the bar course. Remember, because in the bar course you're rated outstanding, highly competent, or competent, or else fail. So if you're rated competent, you probably won't get it. You're rated highly competent, you might do. If you're rated outstanding, you probably will do. So that is that. Anyway, in the old days, the early 90s, you got paid diddly squat to do pupillage. And long ago, you even had to pay to do it. So that's the system of the bar. Remember, there are about 10 times as many solicitors as there are barristers, who almost always work for firms, occasionally work for the government. Been in practice for quite a few years. As a solicitor, you may set up your own practice. I'm afraid my video's got a heavy prejudice towards the bar, because that's what I find scintillating. That's what I always fantasize about doing. Solicitors, well, that's that. It's more of an ordinary office job. They do have rights of audience. They do speak in some courts. And you can do an ordinary degree, do the graduate diploma in law, or do a law degree, not have to do the graduate diploma in law, if you want to be a solicitor. And then you start working for a firm, and over 2 years, you got a training contract. You're working for them, more or less as a paralegal, I suppose, but also sitting exams whilst you're doing it. They used to call them articles, these exams. And then, so you'd be at least 24 years old when you fully qualify as a solicitor. But you have to be in practice for several years before you're allowed to set up your own firm. And that's that, because you usually have a job rather than self-employed. But if you rise up, you can eventually be a partner, have to put some of your own money into the law firm. Obviously, if it goes down, that's it, you're kicked out. As a partner, if you're bad, if you really mess up, you can be sacked and sued. You even have to pay the others back for having ruined the business. So that's being a solicitor. Well, that's enough for the moment about a person's legal career.